The Brown Jr. ignition model engines hold a special place in the history of model aviation, particularly during the golden age of model airplane flying in the 1930s and 1940s. Here's a concise overview of their history. 1. Origins and invention. Founded by Bill Brown, the Brown Jr. engines were among the first successful commercial model aircraft engines in the United States. The company was based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and began producing engines around 1933. 2. The Brown Jr. B engine. The Brown Jr. Model B, introduced in 1934, became the most iconic and influential of the Brown engines. It was a 0.62 cubic inch displacement, approximately 10 cc spark ignition engine. The engine ran on a gasoline-oil mix and used a battery-powered ignition system with points and condenser, similar to full-scale engines of the era. 3. Features and innovations. Reliable and powerful for its time, the Brown Jr. B set a standard for free-flight powered model aircraft. It featured a cast aluminum crankcase, a steel cylinder, and a side-mounted fuel tank. Brown engines were known for their durability, ease of starting, and consistent performance. 4. Popularity and influence. The Brown Jr. engines were widely adopted by serious modelers and were used in competitions across the U.S. They helped popularize powered flight in model aviation, transitioning many hobbyists from rubber-powered or gliders to combustion engines. Brown Jr.'s appeared in many early model aviation magazines and catalogs. 5. Decline and legacy. By the late 1940s, ignition engines began to be replaced by glow-plug engines, which were simpler and lighter. Brown Jr. engines became obsolete for competition use, but remained beloved by collectors and vintage model aircraft enthusiasts. Today, original Brown Jr.'s are prized as collector's items and are sometimes used in vintage model airplane events. Significance. The Brown Jr. ignition engines played a foundational role in establishing gas-powered model flight as a serious hobby and sport. They symbolize a pioneering era when ingenuity and craftsmanship defined model aviation. Brown Jr. engine models. Summary. Brown Jr. Type A prototype 1933, displacement 0.6 CQ in, ignition, spark ignition, battery coil points. Notes, early prototype, very limited production, used to refine the later Type B. 2. Brown Jr. Type B 1934, displacement 0.6 CQ in, ignition, spark ignition. Notes, the most famous and widely produced model, very reliable. Features, cast aluminum crankcase, steel cylinder, integral tank. Legacy, standard for competition free-flight planes in the 1930s. 3. Brown Jr. C, 1935-36. Experimental, displacement 0.6 UQ in, ignition, spark ignition. Notes, rare model. Improved materials and slight refinements over Type B. Production very limited, not mass-marketed. 4. Brown Jr. D, late 1930s, displacement 0.6 UQ in, ignition, spark ignition. Notes, further refinements. Some say it had improved timing and construction over the B rare. 5. Brown Jr. E, 1940s, displacement 0.6 Q in, ignition, spark ignition. Notes, last model in the line. Similar in appearance to the B, but with production adjustments for wartime economy. Key characteristics across the line. All were spark ignition engines using gasoline and oil mix. All had 0.60 cubic inch displacement. Known for durability, ease of use, and solid power-to-weight ratio. Featured side port timed intake and one exhaust port, and a basic carburetor. Legacy. Though the Brown Jr. engine line was short-lived, early 1930s to early 1940s, it had an outsized influence on model engine design and helped launch powered model aviation as a popular hobby. Today, these engines are highly collectible and celebrated in vintage fly-ins and historical exhibits.